The robbery had lasted only minutes, but the damage it caused would haunt Britain for decades. A gang of masked criminals had stopped a Royal Mail train deep in the fog-covered countryside, overpowered the crew, and escaped into the night with £2.6 million in stolen cash. As the robbers disappeared toward Leatherslade Farm, believing they had pulled off the perfect crime, Britain slept peacefully, unaware that one of the most legendary manhunts in history was about to begin. The morning after the robbery, Britain woke up in disbelief. Newspapers exploded with headlines about a Royal Mail train that had been stopped in the darkness and robbed of millions. Across the country, people stared at the story wondering how a gang of criminals had embarrassed the entire nation overnight. Inside police headquarters, confusion quickly turned into pressure. Senior investigators understood that this was no ordinary robbery because the criminals had planned the operation with military precision. If the gang escaped, public trust in Britain's institutions would collapse even further. Meanwhile, the robbers were hiding inside Leatherslade Farm, surrounded by mountains of stolen cash. What had felt like victory during the night was slowly turning into nervous paranoia as news reports spread across the country. Every sound outside the farmhouse suddenly felt dangerous. Some gang members wanted to disappear immediately before police closed in on them. Others believed they still had time to divide the money carefully and erase all evidence connecting them to the robbery. That disagreement created the first cracks inside the group. Detectives studying the crime scene quickly realized the robbers had known exactly what they were doing. The fake railway signal, the timing, and the isolated location all pointed toward a carefully organized gang rather than reckless amateurs. Britain was now facing criminals who had outsmarted the system itself. Back at Leatherslade Farm, the criminals celebrated less and worried more. News reports kept repeating the size of the robbery, while police checkpoints started appearing across nearby roads. The gang slowly realized that Britain would never stop hunting them. Then the gang made one of the biggest mistakes of the entire robbery. Instead of leaving the farmhouse immediately, several members stayed too long and became careless with fingerprints, food wrappers, bottles, and personal items. The place slowly transformed into a giant collection of evidence. The British public became strangely fascinated by the robbers despite the seriousness of the crime. Some people viewed them as criminal masterminds who had humiliated powerful institutions without firing endless bullets or causing mass destruction. Others feared that the robbery proved Britain was becoming dangerously vulnerable. Investigators soon discovered Leatherslade Farm after following important clues connected to the case. When police entered the farmhouse, they found enough evidence to change the entire investigation overnight. The gang had escaped with millions, but they had failed to erase themselves. Fingerprints collected from the farmhouse immediately gave detectives new leads. The evidence connected known criminals to the robbery and allowed investigators to begin building a detailed list of suspects. What had once looked like an impossible mystery suddenly became solvable. Fear spread quickly among the robbers once they realized police were getting closer. Some fled Britain, while others hid inside safe houses using fake names and criminal contacts to survive. The money that once represented freedom now attracted panic and betrayal. Police raids began sweeping across Britain as detectives hunted every suspect connected to the robbery. Doors crashed open in the middle of the night while investigators searched homes for evidence, money, and hidden escape plans. The manhunt became one of the largest criminal investigations in British history. The courtroom trials became national events followed closely by newspapers and television reports. Crowds gathered outside hoping to glimpse the criminals who had embarrassed Britain with a single operation. The robbers were no longer hiding in darkness because they had become public spectacle. Harsh prison sentences followed as authorities tried to send a message to organized criminals across the country. The government wanted Britain to believe that no robbery, no matter how brilliant, could escape punishment forever. But the story still was not over. Then came another shocking twist that reignited public obsession with the robbery. Ronnie Biggs escaped from prison and disappeared, humiliating the authorities once again. The Great Train Robbery had transformed from a crime into a living legend. Years later, people still argued about whether the robbers were criminal masterminds or dangerous symbols of greed and arrogance. Some admired the intelligence behind the operation, while others remembered the fear and violence left behind. The truth lived somewhere between legend and reality. Even decades later, part of the stolen money was never fully recovered. That missing fortune kept conspiracy theories alive and turned the robbery into one of Britain's greatest true crime mysteries. Somewhere in history, the shadows of the Great Train Robbery still remain. The train robbery may have ended decades ago, but its legend never truly disappeared. Every retelling adds more mystery, more fascination, and more darkness to the story of the night Britain lost control of its railways. Some crimes fade with time, but this one became immortal.